All right, that's enough of us. We have with us tonight, just spell your last name, Selver.
Selver, yeah,
Jeff
Selver, yeah.
Selver, who's got a BA, Master's of Business Administration, and had experiences when he was young, but when he got a little older, it had came crashing down on him and woke him up and changed his life. I was telling him before we started that same thing happened to me. I woke up in my 50s, had experiences, remembered my childhood, confirmed all of it with family and friends back home, and everything about my life changed when I woke up. It was like it was a secret drawer opened. But the thing that did it was I went and visited Chris Bledsoe, and he and I became very good friends. So Jeff, thank you for being here. Yeah, you have a ton of stuff to talk about, books and all your other stuff. Please introduce ourselves to your audience. I don't want to say it for you. I want you to emphasize what you want to emphasize, and let's have a conversation.
Sure. Thank you. Well, yeah. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lala, for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you, everyone out there. And so my name is Jeff Selver, and the premise of my story is I made an agreement with gray aliens to discover my soul. And so it was kind of like an experiment, more of an experiment on, I think, on how I would respond. I think they knew what they were doing, but so that agreement was made at 16, and there was a bit of a procedure. I saw the afterlife on an alien spacecraft, and then so over 7 contact events, they kind of developed or built something up. And then it all got blown out and initiated at 1997, December of 1997. And it initiated a period of traveling. Now, I wasn't aware I was having contact. And so this event was mysterious. I journaled it, and the mystery would remain for well over 20 something years. And then so I was traveling for 2.5 years. And when I started traveling, I started seeing orbs and objects in the sky. I didn't know I was having alien contact, and that's when all the biological stuff started. So there was a biological part to this. There's a whole like kind of a, their purpose a little bit. They explain things to me. They tell me a bit about what they're doing and why they're here. And then when I met my to-be wife traveling, and then when so about 2.5 years in, when that occurred, I went to Toronto, met her guru, became a disciple of a Vedic guru, and all the orbs and everything stopped. And and then there was just this. That was it. Now I'm living in Toronto, Canada, and that was it. There's really nothing else. I was having contact events, but they were intermittent over years, and they were almost kind of like checking in on me. And then on 2016, on their watch, they said your memories were open, but I wasn't aware of how to access them. So I lived out a normal life, just feeling discordance. And my mind kept drifting over years to this weird consciousness event that happened in 1997. What was this thing, this mystery? And then by 2019, I actually get into it's Jeremy Corbell's documentary on Bob Lazar. And that had me taking UFOs seriously for the first time ever. Though as a teenager, I'd read Whitley Strieber's books, but that was it. I didn't touch this field or anything in it. And that had me going down a road of looking into UFOs. And when that happened, the orbs and objects I'd seen traveling came back. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning of a weird, what? Why would those things come back and now? And what does that mean about the event that made me leave to travel? And then all of a sudden it all kind of broke out. And there's a whole process how that happened. I have a book. I put everything into a book, a cohesive story. And yeah, it's 26 contact events with gray aliens that kind of unraveled. And not including the childhood stuff. I kind of leave the childhood stuff alone because the story really starts when I made that agreement at 16. And yeah, that's the gist. Oh, so the story is they basically tell me that they're putting hybrids onto the planet. And that's the gist of it. And so it's interesting. My story has a weird kind of the double side. So right now, the kind of more spiritual stuff is all coming out. And that's what it's emphasizing. So I saw the afterlife on Craft, the fact that they're there. So they show me that they're in the afterlife. They're able to be in these dimensions. That I was talking about that in 2020 when I started going public about this stuff. And so there's a whole spiritual element, and then on top of it, there's the hybrid stuff. So my story kind of merges these two things, and that's the powerful part about it. And then the kind of 2016 contact event, that what I call the 25th, is when she said, "Tell them we're coming. There'll be a new city." And it's all kind of in the way they communicate through the eyes and putting things into your head so you see it as imagery. And so that's what makes the book the title, "The Rising and the Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Earth."
Oh my God. This is
So
good.
is the city in space, in our atmosphere, on the ground, or underwater?
So so yeah, it's a bit of a story. So, but the gist is, yeah, here on Earth, planet Earth, right dead center in the middle of land. Yeah.
Wow, that must be awesome. So
Yeah.
our major experience after we got together, having led two different lives, her waking up and me waking up and finding each other after my mother passed, and she reached out to give me a reading. So we began having experiences here.
So are you talking about your partner, like your partner? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So they brought you together with her? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, they definitely. This was planned. Nothing else explains this strangeness. But look, after a while, when we were experiencing all sorts of stuff, from paranormal inside the house to craft and other things outside the house, including visible orbs, etc. We had a tall being walk on us in the backyard while we were wide awake. She said, "Give me the camera," took a photo, and the being was right in the center of it, veiled slightly. Looked like they didn't want anybody but us to see them in what looked like smoke, but there was no fog or smoke or anything. But anyway, you can make out this face in this photo. Anyway, after that, we were required to decide whether or not we would help them with a mission. And the mission was soft disclosure and other stuff, and they will come back later and talk to us. And so she's had multiple abduction experiences, and they told us what they want us to do, and we had to decide. We thought about it, worried about it, etc., and then finally we said yes.
Right.
Yeah, go for it.
I have many questions for you, but the first one is, what's up with the hybrids? Why are they doing this? Why do you think?
So the way it's explained to me is, I think they think we are a civilization that's going to end. We're on a track that is going to cause problems, and I think that the overpopulation of the planet, they actually just explained to me that the stability of the biosphere, so it includes everything: water, air, land, and that it's at stake. And so that's the gist of it. They plan to I don't know if they're space brothers, but they're kind of like space brothers. And that's the idea, the premise, and to put themselves on here to help us and to steer. So it's a merging of two societies, two civilizations coming together. I actually also think that they're a dying off civilization as well. And that's the premise of it, with the mantis kind of in charge of all this. And I think they think it's a great idea. I think the mantis thinks it's a great idea. And I think the humans were the ones who are saying, whoa. And so that causes all the problems we're having. But I think that's the gist of it, is actually it's the best of two worlds trying to come together, and it's to help the stability of the planet. As far as that's what I was shared or told. Yeah.
Have you been told or know that there's a conflict between different groups, one of which strictly adheres to free will selection only, and the other wanting to lead and guide more? Are you aware of that?
So I haven't come across any of that. So yeah, in any type of, even with contactees, no one's reached out to me saying there's these good ones over here and there's these bad ones over here. I think the phenomenon is much more, it works with the psyches or consciousness of individuals, and it is definitely materializing in different ways for different people. And that's what I lean towards. And I'm not really clear how much diversity actually exists. And I'm just aware of one thing that I'm interacting with that does appear to be behaving the same way with other people. And everything else I can't make sense of. all the huge variety of ideas and things out there, I don't really know what those are. And I don't know if they're the same thing I'm interacting with. It's just calling itself different, something different. Yeah, and I know that they're dealing with a level of consciousness that they can shapeshift and that kind of stuff. And so that would lend towards, we don't really know what's going on a little bit. And I think that in general, it's all behaving the same way, right? That's what's weird too, is that you're not really getting evidence for anything. And so if there's one good one and one bad one, why isn't the good one making it 100% clear word around, and the bad ones are, because we're not getting any evidence for anything. We don't have the bodies, and we don't have the crafts visibly landing so everyone can take pictures of the stuff. So they're all behaving the exact same way, and that has me also lending towards thinking it's all one thing that might be working with individuals' consciousness, and maybe they can see what that person would do with that information. So they know, I'm going to start talking about this, and that changes people. I believe all of it's benevolence. I 100% do. But I just, I think that we lack, sometimes humans have to go through rough things to grow. I think that kind of stuff is also at play here too. And so, because what's it called? It's called post-traumatic growth. And so there actually is a term, right, where people grow from hardship, and you might grow positively in the right way that you need to by experiencing something really hard. So I think sometimes that kind of stuff is at play here, because humans are we're just stuck in our realm, right? We're stuck in our frame of reference of reality. And that inhibits, I think, some of this ability for us to interact with them. And so they might come off sometimes as aggressive. And I don't know that, the person still comes back with all their limbs, and that's the most important part. And so I don't really know. I have trouble making sense of some of the complexities that are out there.
My question was, the city in the center, is it on an island, or is it aligned with a certain star, or is there a way to map it there somehow? And are we supposed to find our way there? What's the information on that?
So I'm pretty certain a planet event is going to happen. And I think this is the stuff that they sit on, the big G people. And I have, Linda Moulton Howe has a really good insider that matched so I was shown planet event, like a planet cataclysm type stuff. And then Linda matched. So she had a government person who matched what they showed me. And
talk about that, what you saw, because I had a dream, but I'm just wondering what you saw.
She has prophetic dreams.
Right. Yeah, no, I believe you. And so it's always the hard part stuff. And but we do need to know about these things. So, and they seem to take an interest when I talk about it publicly. Like they'll visually pop out. So they want me to be talking. The entities want me to be talking about this stuff. And so I think they might want the big G people, to telling people, and the big G aren't telling people. So I think that the simplest way of framing it is that something is going to hit us. And I think it's some type of, I think the mantis are in control of astral fields or something. And so it's like a frequency. It's a new frequency. It's some type of astral frequency that's tied to the galaxy. And then that is going to, when it hits the planet, it's making space for their dimension, I think the gray alien dimension, to come here. And then that causes something in the internals of the planet, to budge, the pole, and that causes a massive tidal wave. Yeah. And so it's like a great wave. It's the Great Waves is what it was called, actually. And it is talking about ocean waves going thousands of kilometers inland. And and then after that, then they come down and they're putting the hybrids. And the city was, it's interesting you said the center. Is that, you said the center? Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah. So what I saw, what they showed me. Now, I need to back up because, as a human, we want definitive things, right? We need things to be clear and say,
Label.
yeah, labeled. Here's the blueprints of the city, like, or even to
Right.
show me the future and to like look in and they say, oh, this is 2050. I can see the city, and it's none of that. They didn't do that with me. They showed me holograms, so it almost came off as symbolic. And all I have to go by is,
Right.
was that symbolic or was that like 100% literal?
Right.
So this city was in the center of North America, dead center North America, and it turned out, okay. So first off, yeah, dead center, with it being, the premise being is a like a massive planetary civilization all condensed into a city, and then the rest of the planet is able to exist with the nature, just letting the nature go wild. So we're not interfering with nature. So there's this kind of demand to stop encroaching the way that we are into the environment, and then to condense ourselves into a beautiful environment, actually. That's very, very, very advanced. Now so that city was like hundreds of kilometers large in a circle. This is what they showed me. And the kind of crest of it would have been going over the prairies, the Canadian prairies, like the border a little bit, but largely in the center of North America, like so the States. What's fascinating is this information, I would learn it would match up McGuire, Patrick McGuire, is that his name? Contactee. And he's actually mentioned in David Piletti's Missing 411, the UFO connection. And yeah, and apparently he was told to dig in that spot in the center of North America, and he lived in the area, and it's because the aliens told him to, and there would be water down there. And of course, all the geologists said, "You're nuts! Don't do that. Why are you doing this?" He does it anyway, and he finds, it's called the Aquifer, I think it is the
Aquifer.
It's the largest
Ogallala Aquifer.
That's it. And he's told, you're going to need this after a cataclysm. So that's really interesting that my city was placed right on top of it. And so that's a really interesting connection. So is it literal? Maybe. I don't know. So, but that's what I was shown, is that's where the city would be.
That's amazing.
So it sounds like the population will be decimated, and what's left of it will be put in the city.
So I think about these types of things, and I try not to, but I do try to understand them. Even the younger Dryas, right? They believe that maybe there's a meteor that smacked into the planet, and that's what like a comet, and that's what it's in Greenland, that impact zone, or that impact crater. Yeah, that caused massive damage. But there are parts, the planet is huge, and there's just parts of the planet that were untouched by it. And so maybe the entities I know they're life preservers, and they're not trying to decimate the population. And that's but there actually is a thing coming that some type of, like, it's going to cause these things. And so, yeah, I think that's the most important part. They're not trying to decimate a population, but population might get affected. And yeah, I can't speak for random locations in the earth. I can't, like, imagine if what I saw is to be real and it happens in the Pacific, maybe Africa is untouched, right? That type of thing. Maybe Australia is untouched. I don't know. But the idea being is that I can't, I think when it comes to the planet, I think that it's not about decimating the population as much as this event's going to happen. There will be lots of disruption, and in that disruption, that's when they put themselves down. And
yeah, so let me point out to you something. If an event that large happened, there would be a massive tidal wave that would go all around the world.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
90+% of the world's population lives within 10 kilometers of water. So they will be utterly inundated by any such occurrence unless they protect us.
But everybody will probably be okay. There's some people that'll freak out.
Yeah. Well, this is why I have to be conscious about it, because it's this information is just too intense. Yeah. I don't even like talking about it, and it's skirted around in the book and stuff too. So I don't really like. That's not my nature to cause panic in people, and I really don't like doing that. And same time, all arrows are pointing towards this type of reality. The longer even disclosure is occurring, we're in the soft disclosure, and they're still not giving us the big picture. It's not looking like, because the big picture is something they don't want to give. And if the aliens are, everything's right, that their hybrids are coming and all this is actually happening, then yeah, they'd be forced to actually being disclosed by the entities saying, you've got to tell your population. So it's clear that we see it visually, actually, that there's a push and pull between forces within the know. So that leading out to some version of what they told me, it just keeps looking like that's what's actually about to happen.
So our remote viewing friends are talking about ramped up sightings occurring more frequently, larger and larger craft happening over the next year or so.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. I was told something similar, that, and it's because they want, and it's interesting. The more like I actually experience sightings. I'll get videos when there's something happens. Grush actually. Grush goes public, and then I had a sighting around that time where I was able to film it. So I think they're very aware of the public sphere and how the information is being digested, and then how it's being taken out, and then they want it. I'm certain they want the public to be knowing about them, but in a way that doesn't freak everybody out.
Can we show a couple of your short videos of what you've gotten?
Sure.
Yeah, of course. I'll have to get on Facebook and pull them, but that's all right.
He's got a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. What is your YouTube channel? Jeff Selver?
Yeah, you just put in Jeff Selver into YouTube and you'll get it. And I have a sightings playlist that kind of organizes things, whatever is there something, Lala, that you specifically saw that you'd like to put up?
There was one, it was 3 dots it looked like a triangle that I saw, but there's a bunch of them. I think you were on your balcony or something at night.
So we have the rising and the alien plan to build, but what are there sighting videos here that you want me to play?
Sorry, you're on the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
So under playlists, you can see all the sightings there.
Oh yeah. Here, let's do this one. I think I've seen this one before, but let me share it so that we can see it. This
is this. Oh, this is the
raw. In February.
Actually, okay. Yeah. So that was one of the.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, eh? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Jeff? I missed it.
Oh, no, there's just 2 of these. I was trying to give as much as I can. So this is the raw. So this is just as good. It's looking just as great. There's also an edited where I zoom in up close, looking at all the. But it shows it really well what it is. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
So we had a thing not unlike that in our backyard between our deck and our neighbors, across the yard neighbor's deck.
Oh, yeah.
And it wobbled around and did that stuff. And then when we captured one frame of it, it had a face in it.
Yeah, I have seen this before. I've seen people zooming it in, finding faces in the lights of these crafts. Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, we've seen that plenty. All right, let me go grab another one.
Yeah,
these are great.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, so for people who are in the public there, on my YouTube channel, there's a playlist sightings. So I just kind of compile everything together for people. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and everything is tied to something. I'm able to interact with these entities. We talk about telepathy tapes. That's what I experience with these entities. And so I can ask. And so I guess it's calling. They have the new words calling. You can call these things. And yeah, I ask if they can come out and I can film them. And sometimes they're very willing, sometimes not. But yeah, and so there's always something going on with me and being public around this content, and they'll come out and they will. Are you
wanting contact events?
Pardon?
There's a playlist called contact events.
No, the playlist of sightings. That's what you're looking. Is that what you're looking for? Sightings?
I got it. I got it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So just let me start this, and so you're playing. All right, I muted it so you could talk.
Oh yeah, no, you muted. So sorry, what are you doing? Are you?
I muted your video so you could talk. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not seeing it. It's my
That's
bad.
it. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on exactly.
Hang on a minute. I'll start it over.
No problem. No problem. Oh yeah, this video. Yeah. So yeah, this is just another, rolling, tumbling. I call it the tumbling UAP. And I caught that in broad daylight. Yeah.
This is an extremely popular version in UFO circles in the United States because these are the one that Ryan Graves and all the people off the East Coast of the United States saw when they were preparing to go out with Teddy Roosevelt fleet. And this is a sphere around a cube.
Right.
This is well known.
So this matches Bob Lazar, right? Like he talks about the method, how the craft, when it's not moving, it will roll. It'll just kind of, he said, it'll perpetually roll. And that's what you got here. You got the craft perpetually rolling as it's moving. It's actually moving quite fast. I estimated that to be about 250 kilometers an hour. So this is just a video where I'm analyzing it. So I actually have you looking at the raw video on my iPhone so you can see the date and stuff. So I just try to show people I try to give people all the information. You don't need to go into all this part here, but okay. It's pretty fascinating. I do my job to analyze my own UFO videos, and because they're legit.
You can see the energy sphere around the cube. You can see it. It's glowing.
Yeah. I don't really know about. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
Well, that's not normal. Believe me, it's
definitely not normal.
That's really odd, and that's been seen by our Navy in several different places.
Yeah, and so for me, there's always like a link. So I was thinking about them literally in that moment, and I actually believe it. I've done a tarot. I don't do tarot readings too often, so I've done a tarot reading that morning, and then I'm looking at the tarot reading that was giving me guidance on publicly talking about these entities, and then I see that thing flying out the window. So this is me just doing all the analysis. So yeah,
that's terrific. All right, let me drop down and get another one.
Yeah, there's other ones here too. Yeah. Of course,
hang on 1 second, and I'll be right back.
I have a question. Why do you think they choose certain people like you and me to have experiences and discuss it with others? Why do you think you were chosen?
So I think, first off, I'm 100% convinced they use AI. They use some type of like quantum god AI. And I think that there's like a bunch of factors. So, and I think it's a breadth. I think your past life is involved. 100% convinced your past life is involved. I'm convinced, like, so you're a developed soul over a certain period, and you've developed a certain way that's perfect for them, for something that they want to do. Your higher self agrees. I'm 100% convinced of that also. And I'm also convinced your higher self may have agreed in the past. I'm not clear that these entities are strictly coming now, and they may have been, working with human souls in the afterlife field for thousands of years. I'm not really clear, and so your higher self may have already worked with them. And so I think those two things, and then you got the genetics. So there's definitely a DNA component, a biological component that benefits your ability to tune into frequencies with these entities. And then you're going to be developed a certain way in your life. Your brain will kind of form a certain way. Your mind will form a certain way. They'll all benefit a perspective that will help them. So, and I think that all that combined, and then on top of it, life experiences too. And the type of things that you can speak to about your experience. And all of that is what played into it for me. I'm certain it did, and I'm pretty convinced that, and I know they're that intelligent about every single person. So I don't doubt they're doing that with you as well too. They kind of saw how you would talk about it, and then that's beneficial for them. So then they interact with you. Yeah.
And you don't have to answer this, but I'm O negative. Are you an RH negative blood type? Because I feel like they pick RH negatives a lot for some reason.
Yeah, I've heard that research, and I am not. I don't know what my blood type is. My parents, they couldn't remember, and it was lost in some card somewhere, and cost money to get it done here, and the doctors don't want to do it for you. And that's so true. I never found out what blood type I am, and I know I'm not RH negative, but I'm finding in all my research that people have Irish backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
We're having contact, and that's what I think it is. I think it's I'm actually, from all my intuitions and all the experience I've had, I'm pretty convinced that gray, like the druids type thing, like thousands of years ago, were gray alien human hybrids. Yeah. And then that genetic line is just passed down into the population and still exists, and they can tune into you like a tuning fork. Yeah, and they can make you see something that no one else sees because of your DNA. It's stuff like that. It's totally very, very specific, very fine, detailed. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, these look like the orbs I see every time I'm with Chris Bledsoe. I mean, the orange orbs kind of roiling, look like plasma.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, and you can see here the point I was making here with this video. You can see it's affecting the atmosphere. So this isn't just some light shining. It's a corona is what gets created, and it's interacting with the atmosphere. So it's clearly an object that is not a light from an airplane or something.
Yeah, it looks like ball lightning or an exotic vacuum object. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Again, that actually matches Bob Lazar, who said, and actually Lou Elizondo, without mentioning Bob Lazar, corroborated Bob Lazar by mentioning the same thing, that it's actually interacting with the ions. So that's the gravity device pushing out intense gravity, and then it interacts with the ions of the atmosphere, changing it, lighting it up so it changes color. Wow. And the point he actually once mentioned is that, so depending on the atmosphere chemicals, it can change color. So if you're in a cleaner environment, it'll be a different color versus in the city, it'll be a different color. Very interesting. Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's very cool.
Really good video.
This was the first one that was the first one, those orbs there. So that was the first one I ever got, and I had no idea they would just, it's over years, right? So they don't allow the filming to be consistent, right. But though it has picked up recently. But they've been around, and they also didn't want me filming. So there was a whole thing there too. So it's really interesting, the game that went on here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a game, but the relationship that went on here.
Yeah.
This was a second sighting. It's a lot slower. But it was the same idea. It just sat there, and it was slowly moving up. It's such a gentle pace. So it's a little bit harder of not as good of a film, but still fascinating. And it just, it rose out of behind the buildings, sat there, and I was talking or, communicating with them, and then they did this, and then it just disappears, which is also fascinating too.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's very neat. I remember the first kind of, we were alerted that we were going to get visible orbs here starting recently. I was watching television news, and she was sitting at the table doing her artwork, and one decided to come up on our deck and show itself at our sliding glass doors.
Oh yeah.
And she went, oh, and I went, what? And then I didn't see it. She did, but I later looked at our security camera, and it caught just the edge of it going across the bottom of the automated capture. So we got a little video of it. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to film this stuff. Yeah.
I got addicted to it. I had to take a break actually because I wasn't getting any sleep. I mean, it was crazy, right. But I enjoyed it. So I'm back into it, and I feel like they know I'm getting back into it because they're getting more active too. It is kind of like a game. It really is.
It is a gift. I love it. I feel blessed when they do it. This was my favorite one too. It's a hockey puck, and it's floating. And so that's this is the raw. So the edited version of this, I really do. I zoom in a lot more clear.
Okay, so the next one, the edited version.
So you can see down here, it's the description on the bottom of the last. It says raw there. So I'll have one.
But is the next one edited?
I can't see what your next is, unfortunately.
No, I know it's on the Vancouver Raw. Let me keep going here. These are mostly raw, all in a row. But that's a nice orb up at the top.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a lot up there in that playlist.
What does your wife think of all this?
So, doesn't fully like it, but like can't wrap their heads around. And I say them, my friends as well too, like close friends who were part of my inner group of people, can't wrap their head around the relationship part. It's actually one thing to say, okay, I had alien contact, and they actually believed that part. But when it became this idea that they're still around, or that there was a genetic thing, or that they're telling me their plans, then it gets a bit too like, wait, what? Why are they doing that with you? And you have to get into the experiencer world to want to understand that. And that takes energy and time, especially as an adult when you never did that.
Right.
And then to have that in your face, it really freaks people out. And so I've shown her some of these, but they always leave it with, we don't know what that is. So
right.
Yeah. And so they can't know that I'm having, even now we have, Jake Barber validating that people can have telepathic interactions with these things, even though that was already out there with double me now.
I'll jump to the next one.
Yeah. So I actually caught her as a drone. That's for a while there, these drones that you guys are having in the States.
Yeah.
This is what they were doing with me back in June. So I actually provide all that evidence, and that those drones, I'm convinced they're gray aliens. And so that's my whole video there. I got a video there that kind of showing that evidence, because I capture paranormal activity on the same time. And
that is definitely not normal navigation lights. It's violating the law, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I actually show a plane. I actually have an app that has it's a radar app. So it shows you all the flights in the area, and I just do screenshots to show that's the film. Here's the app showing there's no airplane in the area. And so that's not a normal. It's not a normal anything actually. Yeah, it's black, and it's a weird. And the rear lights are bizarre, and yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a beautiful triangle sitting there with the lights on the edges. That is really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was all in response to me getting a new camera, and I was excited to film, and I asked her telepathically, and then she agreed. She came out and let me film her. So it's definitely I consider it her, the elder, the entity I interact with. So yeah.
Is that sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. Yeah, it was about 6. It's all time stamped. I think it was about 6:20, something like that, and that was January. January 26th, I think, is the date of this.
Oh my goodness, look at that! Oh, isn't that gorgeous? I love the colors. This was fascinating too. And when you really zero in on it and take pictures of the screenshots, the colors change. So the green becomes purple, the red becomes orange. It's beautiful actually. Yeah. Like Christmas lights or something.
Right. You just said it was a she and an elder, or that she is an elder.
She is I call her the elder. Yeah. It's a she. Yeah.
Can you kind of go into that a little more, explain it?
Sure. So this, for me, well, I know it to be her. It's definitely her. I'm not clear what's going on. If she's actually driving it like inside like a cockpit or something. But she is definitely the main. So she's the entity I've been dealing with since 16 years old.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it's the gray alien that I interacted with, and she's a highly paranormal entity. And so I've seen these objects shapeshift and that type of stuff. And the paranormal is off the charts. And so this is, so that's it. And I'm able to communicate with her, and she responds, and these objects can respond to me telepathically talking to her. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. She's just the main gray alien I've been dealing with since I was 16 years old.
My son saw one transition from one form to another. He lives in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, one of the like a New Jersey drone thing. He saw it. That I keep hearing this, and that's when before the government said it was FAA. This is what I was getting, because I was actually in a couple podcasts saying, listen, I'm having these experiences, and these entities are looking like what you guys are dealing with. And the guy said, well, I've seen them transform. He said, I saw an orb turn into some kind of weird drone thing, and then vice versa. And so I keep hearing this kind of transformation thing that's going on with these. Yeah.
Yep. They want to make sure those that are awake and aware can see it happen.
Yeah. So this video, so I think it might be the 1 minute mark. So there's a flash that will occur in the sky. So this is the type of stuff I would normally experience with her. Yeah.
There's 1 minute.
Yeah. So it'll be, so just watch in a second here. So I'm talking to you, the audience in the video, but just watch beside the left of that thing I'm pointing at as the elder. There it was.
I saw the flash.
Yeah, the flash. Yeah. So those were happening in the sky, and I caught them on camera, and that was the first time it ever happened. And that's, for me, that's why it's paranormal. Even her showing herself to me, they're doing something paranormal. Yeah.
Those flashes are our every night, and lots of times she can frame grab the flash and see a structured craft.
So I have been able to stare in empty space, and then they'll flash there. So there's something, this stuff interacts with consciousness in a very profound way. And so this was I got another flash on another part here. So I have actually video here where I analyze all this as well too. So this is the raw video of those flashes. So
I love it. I love it. Let me move on to the next one here.
It's cool you're exploring this. I love it. Yeah. We saw this one. Yeah. Yeah. This is the edited of that video. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So actually getting close there, and it's pretty neat. Yeah, that's
very
not. Nice. Yeah, that's not anything normal. And it also moves too, which is really cool. So we'll sit there, and then it starts moving. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
UFO Intros is my buddy. I knew he'd like this stuff.
Nice. That's great.
So what do you think right now? Well, here's two questions. What's the most important information you want to get out to people? And what's something you've learned that you've really taken to heart from all of your experiences as of now?
Great question.
Yeah. So the thing I want to get out to people, it's going to sound really bizarre, but I'm 100% convinced everybody needs to find God.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is not for the reason you think. I think that it's a real, okay, here's the example. Talking about the paranormal with these guys. And I think it's just Carla Turner was the first to really document that paranormal reality of these entities. And it's just nonstop, right? We have tons and tons and tons and tons of contactees and experiencers. Even Whitley Strieber, paranormal is intertwined with this. So when you start interacting with a paranormal entity and you don't have your grounding in your spirit, you can do backlash stuff. You can have weird psycho effects. And I'm 100% convinced their dimension is coming here. And so the human might become more not volatile, but I'm not clear what will happen, but I know that we need to be finding our source to gain power in this new dimension. So so it's actually much more practical and real than being willy-nilly woo. And I think the universal source is a real thing. And when you're grounded in that power, you can easily interact with these entities without them throwing you off or being intimidated by them. And they are intimidating, but you can still hold your space with them. So, and that's also when you go into the God stuff, if you know how to do that correctly, so it's not kind of religious, you can actually open up everything else that goes with it. So yeah, all the telepathy and all the remote viewing, if you will, and all the past lives and all that can come open, and it can open grounded. And that's what I think is most important too. It opens all that ability opens in a very natural, grounded way. So, and I also think you need that kind of God unified field connection to interact with their tech as well too. So I think it's a whole big thing. And I actually think it's a problem. I think that humans not finding their source causes a problem for them interacting with us. And those are like real legitimate issues. And people think God was just something you discover and that's it. And then you're kind of wishing that one day when you die, everything will be okay and you get into the good space. But it's actually much more needed as a way of interacting with these entities than I think people realize. So I'm always telling people to find God, also your God. So it's not just about something you're looking for outside of you, it's in you and you are it. And we're kind of caught in an illusion about it all. And so tell everybody you're God. You gotta find God. That's the premise. However you do that, whatever that means to you. So that's the big one I focus on. And then how has it changed me, right? How has it affected me, or this whole stuff? Well, it expanded my perspective. That's for certain.
Right.
How is it? I mean, it's just never ending. It's still never ending. How has it changed me? It's probably too big. So, I mean, I guess that the idea is that it gave me a security. So it gave me a security about all the kind of quote unquote dimensional spiritual stuff that I got at a very early age. And so I couldn't be moved that consciousness event that happened to me in 1997, December of 1997, I found God. So I found my connection to the universal field, and it was unequivocal. So, and I was in a world where surrounded by people who wouldn't believe that. But I was like, no, I knew what I experienced, and I don't need you to tell me what I experienced. So I was grounded in it and confident in it. And so now that is a world that can just keep expanding when you start talking about near-death experiences or afterlife or alien craft or dimensions. So obviously there's just it's a never-ending learning curve. But being confident in it is the first step to really starting to interact with all our personal abilities and those realities, what they can open up for you, because you need to just know it's real. Yeah. And also what that did for me was give me the combined with meditating for 20 something years. So I've been with a guru, I've been meditating, and that's probably the best thing that ever happened for me, is I got really good at, I know when my imagination is, but then I also know what's coming from another source.
Right.
And having confidence in that too. So I know when I'm interacting in telepathy with the elder versus some random voice in my head. I know when I'm experiencing past life awareness. I know when I'm able to do my version of remote viewing. So, and I'm confident in all those things. And it's because I interacted with the entities and they did everything they've done, gave me that space of confidence. And that's probably the simplest way to say about how they affected me. So.
Okay, you detail a lot of this in this book, The Rising.
Yeah, The Rising is actually how it all happens. That's correct. It's a spiritual journey. Yeah, 100%. It's a spiritual journey.
That's terrific. Yeah,
the hero's journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me get a few poor people in here who are saying hello. Have you had an NDE?
So, what I would say is that. So what the aliens did with me is they showed me the afterlife. And it wasn't a near-death experience. It was the death. So a near-death is you die and you go up and then someone interacts with you and you go back down. I was a third-person vantage of watching the death of my last life. And then I watched it as it transgressed into the afterlife. And I sat there. So they had me absorb it, is what they did. It's like entrainment, the idea that there was this higher, I watched the higher self and then I became that higher self. So they had me absorb the bridge of the afterlife. And then as my higher self was interacting with gray aliens and then planning my life. So they imbibed in me the confidence of our relationship with each other. And so that's not a near-death experience. I saw the unbridled afterlife and the pure afterlife. And so, yeah, it's a higher self. It's a relation. It's a story about the higher self is really what it is. It's about my complete relationship with the higher self and how my higher self made the agreement with the entities. And there was a biological part. And then I start fighting. And so my higher self agrees. But I fight as a normal human would, and then I'm stuck. I'm learning about myself in the process. It's really epic. Yeah.
Do you remember what the afterlife looked like for you that they showed you?
Felt like? So, would you say what it felt like?
Felt like or looked like. Some people just see black, but they feel calmness. Some people see like flowers and trees.
So my higher self. So it was entrainment with my higher self. And There isn't any words, but it's not just multidimensional, but it is a body. It is our body, a light body, but it is linked in a almost like a tree. It's like a tree. So that, and then it's caught in branches that are linked to everything. So then, but it's an individuation still nonetheless.
Right.
And so that's what I was zeroed in on. And it showed me what I was watching was technology. So I was watching my higher self using some type of grid system to plan my life. And so I was able to go into these grids, these nodes, or it was doing it. I was watching it as an orb. So that's me watching it. That's an orb. That's what I'm saying. That's me as an orb. They turned me into an orb, and then I watched the afterlife. That's as insane as it is. But what's crazy is, it's all matching all the research. All these years later, I've been doing research on it. And that idea of the grid and the nodes all matched I forgot the book, Journey of Souls, Michael Newton. So he has a whole thing on soul groups, and it's exactly like this, like lily pads that you kind of move into. So people were seeing planning of afterlife with soul groups, and that's exactly what I was doing. My higher self was using a grid to plan my life with these soul groups, not biological. It's all about the type of people you'll be interacting with in your life. Right. And so that's the type of stuff I was watching. They wanted me to really emphasize the relationship. So my higher self was agreeing with the gray aliens to work together. So then that was a really big part of it too. And so they're in that dimension. And it's a bit complex to go into, but the bottom line is that, I saw my death and my last life transition. So I had a past life thing going on where I'm watching the death of my last life. And then it goes into the afterlife realm. And I see this, I see tech. It's not like I see too much. Oh, the other thing I do see. So when I watched from the third person vantage, my past life died, and it's going up and up and up and up. And then it crosses this veil. It's like this little layer. And me from the third person, it looks like it's in outer space. And so it's transforming into this higher self as it moves into this other dimensional space. And from a third person advantage, it 100% appears to be up in the upper atmosphere. So when you die, you literally are going into the other realm above Earth in the space. Mm-hmm. Now, all these years later, I've done my own, you can say hypnotic regression, if you will, to figure out what the hell was really going on there. And me in the first person vantage, because I did a regression to see this, he doesn't see space. He sees a light dimension. So I'm as a third person, I'm looking at it outside, and the aliens are able to do all this stuff. I don't have the answers to how they do all that, but they're using holograms. That's what I do know, of real events. That's what they're obviously for me, real events that actually occurred. But I'm looking at it from a third person vantage, and the afterlife appeared to be in outer space. But when I'm walking through it personally, it was a light dimension. So that's just all really fascinating. So that's the gist of what it felt like. And the feeling, the higher self is this. It's the one planning my life. So when you connect with God, I've always been saying this for a long time too, you find God, you're actually finding your higher self. So when you find God, you say, God, do this, and you feel love. You ever get to that space where something's comforting you and loving you? That's the higher self. And there's a whole intelligence there. So it's a planned out life. Like everything you're doing is on purpose, and what you don't know, you're not supposed to not know. What you do know is you're supposed to know. And so this is a super duper intelligence that it's a tree and a dimension, able to connect with dimensions and things. It's that you can't even understand what it's doing. And it's a powerful relationship to have in our lives. And so that's what the afterlife felt like in a gist.
I watched her in a waking state, interacting with me, go through all of it. She left the realm and she saw whatever. She did not see all of it, but it was enough that I knew what was happening to her. And so just one more thing. Both of us have had regressions. And just my case, I saw interactions with great aliens in an earlier life, and I know what they did to me and others, and then I witnessed the end of that life and moving on. And then when I went into higher self, it was like I was sucked into the background, and this huge consciousness contained me and interacted with my regressor in my stead. I could hear it, but I couldn't affect it until that moment. I thought I might not be hypnotized. At that moment, I knew I was hypnotized because literally I was in the background watching. It was amazing.
Beautiful. Powerful. Love it.
Really quick, we're almost finished up to the hour. We have to have you back again because this is amazing. And
yeah, we really want you to come back. So
I'd love to, guys. Love to. It's been great being on. Love it so much. Yeah.
When we first started hanging out, we were with a group of friends at night in a field, and I was with my one friend, Michelle, and she was taking pictures, and I was kind of like trying to get something to show up. And I said inside, I said, show me who you really are, because I felt something. The picture came out. It wasn't a glitch or a camera. It was a grid with 4 holes, 2 white holes, 2 black holes, and something was coming out of one of the black holes. And when you started talking about the grid, I was like, oh, holy shit. Sorry. But
keep going.
It was amazing that you said that.
Keep going while I pull this photo up.
That's great.
But then somebody emailed us a couple months later. They took like almost the same grid picture that we have, but they live like opposite of where we are.
Right.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Powerful. Love it.
There it is. You found it.
Yep.
And so this is ours on the left.
Hang on a minute. I'm not sharing it yet.
Share it. Yeah.
And then the one on the right is the person's. I made it darker. That's why it looks so bold. It was very faint, but I mean.
So the one on the left is one that she took with her phone. And if you hang on just a second. If you look at that hole, that portal, that's as much as I can do. You can see something. I zoomed in on that, and it is a craft coming through that hole. So we put this up on social media, and a lady from Michigan sent us this same kind of grid, except all of her holes are filled, where 2 of ours are open, and it has this little gnome holding a wand in the bottom corner. Wow. I called it a machine elf because I didn't know what else to call it.
So I'm confused. So Lala, you saw that? You saw this?
I felt it.
She felt it and went snip.
My friend took a picture with my phone.
And this is how it came out.
The left one.
And all the dots in the back are the stars that were out that night.
So look, there were several pictures. All of them were of star fields except one, which is this grid.
Oh, that's
we had someone
wild.
check it that does photo analysis, and it wasn't a glitch of the camera or anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
I forgot her name.
And then a woman in Michigan who had experiences with her husband sent us this one, and she didn't even see this. I mean, look, there's an eye, a mouth, a chin, and the wand in his little upstretched arm.
I wonder what some are. I'm guessing they're portals, and 2 are black and 2 are white. I'm not sure what that.
Well, there's a craft coming through the one on the left and ours.
Wild. I'd never seen a camera do that. That's pretty epic.
Oh my goodness. Then we got my fancy camera, that one that she took to being in our backyard. We started shooting them and asking them, and 1 out of every 10 photos when we're out in the field has this grid.
Right. Yeah, so during my first ever hypnotic regression, the phone went haywire, and it ended up with all this static. And it's my phone was recording, it was the audio recording from my phone. And it never had done that before nor after. And now I have it on audio, and I got this crazy distortion. And it's like, and I mean real. Like, it's like bending, and there's this weird stuff going on. And it wasn't until I read Susie Hansen's book, The Dual Soul Connection, that she talks about, yeah, when people do hypnotic regressions around alien content, the equipment can go really weird. So that's something like, this is what I'm looking at when I see your camera there. That's just shockingly symmetrical for a distortion.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty weird. Yeah, it's pretty weird. But
Jeff,
doesn't surprise me.
We had 300 live viewers. Many more will watch during the week as it goes on YouTube and elsewhere.
Yeah.
We definitely want to have you back because this is so interesting. Yeah. And then we have too much to cover not to do it again. Lala and you will work that out. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Oh, wait, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah, with jeffselver.com.
That's right. My full name, jeffselver.com, www.jeffselver.com. You got it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, folks. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, everyone.